Hey everybody, thank you for joining me once again. Welcome back to Planet Hog, man. You know, I've been meaning to talk about this for some time, but as things pop up, I try to hit what's topical at the time, and sometimes things will hit me the right way, and so I'll just speak on them. But this was something very major that I definitely wanted to talk about. Partial pun intended, very major. But or I should say pun partially intended, that makes sense. The state of the military. Now, and like I said, initially I was on to something else. I didn't really want to come back to it, but Joe Biden's the man that he has running the military now. Of course, it's a black man. He's going to put a black man at as the face of the destruction of the world's greatest military. Man, and I know we already talked about this, man, but it really just it's vexing how stupid a lot of people that look like me are. And they're not stupid because of their skin tone, although they're starting to give credence to that racist theory. But it's just amazing how naive and childlike the thought process is. Everything that they're fucking up, they put a black face in front of. Every single goddamn thing that they fuck up, there's a black face in the forefront of it. And these people just don't seem to just look around. You know? You go on Hulu. I was on Hulu the other day. Because they have the Western section, so I went to watch that. And, they got their pride shit up because it's pander season. It's the most panderful time of the year. All the gays are out switching and no one is bitching 'cause we're all in fear. Fuck. And of course, they got RuPaul and all them up there for that. And then this man that Biden appointed to be the head of the military is a black man. Oh, man. Anyway, so I'm here to talk about the military today. Now, I think most of you have seen the video, the recruitment video. And I was going to do a live reaction to that, but I think you all can kind of surmise how I feel about that, and today I'm going to address it more directly for those of you who can't. But most of us have seen the video. I think it's gone viral. I'll have a link for it down in the description. Everything that I reference will be down in the description, just so you know I'm not bullshitting you. But I watched that video, and there were two major takeaways for me from that video. Obviously the tone, right? That notwithstanding, the Chinese, and for those of you who don't know what I'm talking about, there's a video that juxtaposes the Chinese's recruitment video for their army, the Russians' recruitment video for, I believe, which is their branch of the Marines, and our latest army recruitment video. So the first thing that jumped out to me was, and it's a thing they teach you in the military. It's called Ethos. Well, they call it warrior ethos. Sometimes they call it different things depending upon the branch. In the Air Force, they call it warrior ethos. And warrior ethos is a Greek word. It means, loosely, I think it means character. I think it's like character or how you carry yourself. Basically, it's your behavior set. It's adopting a new model, a new mode of behavior. It's the ability to step into this new thing, being the military, step into this new career field, and take on the personality that's required to do the job and do the job effectively. And there's ethos for different things. There's ethos for a teacher. There's a character you have to take on to be a teacher. There's a character you have to take on to be an entertainer. There's a character you have to take on for everything. There's a character you have to take on to be customer service. And just to clarify, when I say a character to take on, I don't mean like putting on an act. I mean a personality style that you have to adapt, a way of being that you have to adopt, I should have said. A way of being that you have to adopt in order to do this job the way you're supposed to. But none of those are quite like the character you need to take on to join the military, especially the frontline military, the people who are kicking in the doors, the Army, the Marines, especially them. And it's an ethos unlike anything you'll find in regular civilized society because, well, regular civilized society kind of frowns upon killing people. But that's your job, to either directly do it or contribute to someone being killed. And you don't fuck with that. That's a place where people have to go to be able to do what they need to do. I think the closest thing realistically that comes to that in regular society is that of a killer criminal, because we're essentially creating the same act. It's just justified different ways. In one way it's allowed, in the other way it's frowned upon. But it's basically the same thing. You're still killing. Killing is killing. And the one thing you don't fuck with is the ethos of people who join the military, because you have to, regardless of what branch of service you choose, whether you're a Marine or whether you're a Coast Guard serviceman, irrespective of what branch you choose, your job is to kill for America or to do the mission, do your part in the mission, in the contribution to killing, in the name of the red, white, and blue. And for a lot of people, there's a process that you have to go through. I'll speak for myself. There was a process I had to go through. Now, it wasn't that hard for me because if you've played team sports, if you're a competitive person, if you're a guy, it should come somewhat easier to you. But somewhere in all of this, we've corrupted that ethos. And that was on full display in that video. You see, when you look at the Chinese video, you see the hardiness of spirit, you see the discipline, you see the aggression, you see that's the word, aggression. You see that it's almost tangible, that fire. Same thing with the Russian video. Now, theirs was interesting because there wasn't a lot of yelling. It was just more communicated in the steeled look of the man who was in the video. You don't get that at any point in the U.S. Army's newest video. It's a cartoon, which was... it's just embarrassing, man. It's beyond frustrating. It's beyond irritating. It's gotten to the point where it's embarrassing now. And it's almost like the people who are in charge are intentionally making a mockery out of the country. So now our military has to be a decorative ornament to how woke we are. Right? We're putting roses in the end of our M16s, like that old the image from the hippies during their protests during, I think it was the 60s or the 70s. So that video notwithstanding, there have been a lot of other things. And I can tell you really quickly from my time in, okay, from the time I got into the Air Force, which was 2010, to the time I left, 2015, it had changed remarkably in that time. I came in when they had first started to adopt some of the Marines training for basic training, because before then, the Air Force was kind of the running joke amongst the military family in terms of our relaxed physical requirements, relaxed standards. You know, most of the guys you saw were paunchy. They were fat guys and fat women. And so much so that when I would go places, people would look at me and assume, like it happens even to this day, people assume that I'm a Marine when they meet me, or when they hear I'm in the military. And I almost was, but the recruiter had to go to the strip club because they needed more females, and that's not bullshit. So the Air Force guy was right across the hall. He saw me waiting. He said, "Hey, can I help you?" And the rest is history. Because at that point, I was just trying to get the fuck out of mom and dad's house. But anyhow, even from the time when I was in, because after the time I was in, once I got into what they called the working man's Air Force, you know, there's a special duty where you can go back and you can be at what we call an MTI, which is basically a drill instructor. And I thought about it. I really did. But there was a guy who I worked with who had gone down there and he discouraged everybody once he got down there. He said, "No, we can't yell at them anymore. You can't yell. You can't make them do push-ups for doing things wrong. Push-ups, there's no physical punishment for doing anything wrong. right? That can only happen. You can only make them do push-ups when it's PT. You can't do it as punishment. They give them these little cards called like timeout cards where they can hold it up if they feel like they're being harassed. You can't take their cell phones. And again, this was in 2013-ish. Meanwhile, don't know how many of you know this, but breast implants. Females are allowed to get breast implants in the military, and it's paid for by you and I because it's seen as part of female health, promoting healthy female body image. Same thing with transsexuals. They're allowed to change, quote unquote, change their gender in the military. And it's covered by you and I. This is what our military has become. So you have a lot of people who will go into the military. They'll sign the contract for the, least amount of time they need to do to get these benefits, which is about 4 years. Not about, it is 4 years. So they'll go in, do their 4 years, get a new pair of titties, change their gender, get free college, and then they'll bounce. But that's not, that's the thing about these people. And that's why people have to stop giving in. And when I say people, I mean you and I. Those of us who have our heads on straight, who see what the fuck is happening, we have to stop giving in because it never stops. It never fucking stops. It's always, and it was so clever how they wrapped this, because they wrapped it, if you remember, in the early 2000s when they first made their first push with the gay shit. It was about tolerance. Oh, we just want to exist. Tolerance. But what happens if you tolerate cancer? What happens if you tolerate mold? What happens when you tolerate anything that is invasive and foreign to the host? Anything parasitic? It spreads. It continues to consume and destroy the host. But we were all disarmed with this notion of tolerance, and they've since continued their push to the point now where, well, you have recently, I think it was a congresswoman from Florida, she's a Democrat, saying that the Army's PT standards aren't fair. They're lopsided. And the link to the article will be down in the description for you to peruse. But it's not fair because not enough women are passing. Not enough women are getting these jobs, which is kind of funny, right? Because these are the same people that say men and women are equal. So if you're equal, what's the problem? Huh. So what's going to end up happening is they're going to end up changing the Army's physical requirements. That's wonderful, right? They're going to end up lowering the bar. And remember when they first introduced the idea of women serving in combat roles, they said, well, we don't want them to change the standards. And here we are. Now they want them to change the standards. How about the Navy? The Navy is now under scrutiny because they said not enough females. Look, some more females in the Navy couldn't hurt. There was a running joke that we had about people in the Navy. They wear, they have a lot of uniforms. They like to accessorize. They're called seamen, and one of their outfits is all white. I don't know. But jokes aside, there's pressure on the Navy now because there's not enough females. How about the Army relaxing its hair standards now? See, because before, when you're in the military, you're a female, you have to wear that military bun. It's not attractive, but it's not meant to be. It's meant to project an image. You're not supposed to be comfortable. You're supposed to be on alert. You're supposed to be disciplined. You're supposed to be adhering to the AFIs in the Air Force, whatever your governing code is. Well, now the Army's relaxing that, so they allow hair. They're allowing ponytails. But again, this is just for women. So my question is, what the fuck is going on? Not so much what the fuck is going on. We know what's going on. It's the watering down of our military. But to what end? Have we all just gotten hopped up on those goofy ass Avengers movies where we want to see girl power and we want to see a whole female force? And look, this isn't me shitting on women who serve. Women who serve, you signed the line. I respect you for that. But when you try to bend the standards down to your level, I have a big problem with that. And you know what? For the most part, a lot of this mouthing comes from people who aren't in the military. Surprise, surprise, right? It's always the people who aren't involved that have the biggest opinions. It's always the people who were never in who have the biggest opinions. And not for nothing, but even doing what I did in the Air Force, which was fix airplanes, you would have females who would come into that job, and the first thing they would try to do is get out of it. Whether that's going to the commander's office and getting him coffee, lots of women do that. They just sit there. They're basically secretaries. Whether it's going to the tool crib and just handing out tools, being a tool caddy, or whether it's going into training so they can sit behind a computer, sit at a desk, and watch people take computer-based tests. So you have people who are actually in it that actively try to get out of it. But now we need to continue to relax the standard. How about the Space Force? Yeah, that was, and look, don't get me wrong, I was a big supporter of Donald Trump when he was in office. That was stupid. The creation of the Space Force was stupid. Why was that stupid? Because the Space Force, space was already within the providence, was within the purview of the Air Force. That was part of the Air Force's jurisdiction, to put it plainly. That's what Space Command was for. I believe it's Peterson Air Force Base in Colorado. Whole Air Force Base dedicated to that. So that was dumb. But I think it was partially because this was towards the beginning of his presidency. He had a lot of people feeding him bad information. But at the same time, you have to take personal accountability to know what the hell you're talking about. So that's been seized upon. Because what is the Space Force? Well, it's really nothing. We have NASA. NASA pretty much does most of the heavy lifting with that. We have Tesla competing with NASA in the private sector. So, I mean, what is the Space Force? It's the perfect opportunity to create a female-friendly branch of the military. And that's what Donald Trump may have inadvertently set in motion. And not just female-friendly, but all female. It's their opportunity to create their little stupid, what was that movie? Endgame, Avengers Endgame, when they had all the broads have their moment. God, man, it is so fucking stupid. At the same time, you have China ramping their shit up. China saying that men in China need to be more masculine. And you already know how the Russians feel about that shit. You call someone a bitch in Russia, the word is suka. You call someone a bitch or suka in Russia, they will kill you. They will try to kill you. That's how seriously they take masculinity over there. But here we are. We need to be softer. We need to be more inclusive. And then you have, well, the Air Force. They're not free from this either. We're going to go in on them as well. With these goofy ass new flight suits that Joe Biden has for pregnant moms. Well, here's the thing about that. And maybe they're going to change the AFI. I don't know. But in the Air Force, as soon as they find out that you're pregnant or within a certain window, they pull you off the plane. You don't fly anymore because it's not safe for the baby. You know, those little insignificant things that liberals hate. But I get it. Joe Biden's like, no. If we buy these suits, then we can throttle back. We can save some money on these abortions because they'll just fly the baby right out of them. Let them pull a couple G's and... And again, I come back to purpose. What is the purpose of the military? The purpose of the military is to fight, to kill for America. So the rest of us don't have to. And that's why when people say, oh, why do you have so many guns? Why do you always go into the gun range? Because the writing's on the wall, man. Because the writing is on the wall. We will not win. I will bet any one of you listening right now, I'll put it up, however much you want to bet, the next war we get into, we will lose. Hell, at the time that I was leaving the military, you had the general or the secretary of the, was it the secretary of the Air Force or is it the general of the Air Force? I forget. His name was Mark Welsh. I think he was the general of the Air Force. But he wrote a letter to Congress saying that if there was a war at that time, the Air Force would not be able to fight that war logistically because it was so gutted. And that was thanks to Obama and the sequester, which saw a lot of fuck shit happening, like me being deployed to an area known to use chemical weapons with a suit that didn't fit me. So every time there was a siren, boy, oh boy, every time that damn siren went off and people went bunker diving, or anytime there was any kind of a threat, an elevated mop level, anything. Or not a no, not the mop level. That's for chem. But the I can't think of what it is. But they've got colors. It's for the it basically assesses the threat level to the base on a daily basis. My heart was in my throat because if it happened, well, I'd be dead. Because we didn't have enough money, or the time we ran out of toilet paper while we were over there because we didn't have any money, or the time when we had to FedEx a part for one of our jets. Yes, we're deployed, mind you. This isn't at home. We were deployed. And we had to FedEx a part for one of our jets because it sat on the goddamn apron for over a week. And then when we started running out of parts and we had to take them off of broken jets, that's really what disillusioned me with being in the military. I'm like, okay, I can tolerate this shit back home. We run out of printer paper, whatever. But here we are. We're in it now. I'm deployed now. So everything should be there for us to do our job, right? You would think. But you got money for all this other bullshit, right? You got money to give immigrant kids a free college tuition when there's hardworking people here that can't afford to send their kids to college. And that's why I have nothing but hatred for that man. If I ever saw him in real life, I think I would have to really, 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 really try to hold myself back because I just want to punch him in his smug fucking face. I fucking hate Barack Obama with a passion. But anyway, I sit here now and I watch the military continue to be used as a prop to show how woke we are. Oh my God, look how progressive. See, that's the funny thing about progress and being progressive. There's only so much you can do to improve something before you ruin it. In other words, progressives and liberals alike, they like to act like progressive is like us walking up this giant hill that just never seems to end. It's just one steady incline. But it's not. Because what happens? At a certain point, you reach the top of the hill, you reach the apex, and then what happens? You go back down. And that's where we are with a lot of things. It's like we made it better, 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 best, worst, worse, worse, worse. What the fuck? But let's just keep going. And now the military is one of them. I've said before, and I'll say again, one of the things, in my opinion, preventing an all-out invasion, and that's not to say it won't happen, but one of the things that's preventing an all-out invasion, sure, geographically, yes, we are blessed in that we're far away from all other major superpowers, although at this rate, who knows, maybe Canada will be able to punk us down one day. The cartels already do. But the other thing that works in our favor in terms of deterring a full invasion is that damn Second Amendment. Because nowhere else in the world will you have to contend with a civilian population armed with weaponry that you could very well find in the military. But they're trying to take that away too. And that's why I've said before, and I'll say it again, 2A is my hill. I know what my hill is. That is the hill I will die on. Because I don't want to see what's going to happen if they're able to take away that Second Amendment. That's really the only thing. It's not a coincidence that with COVID, all these crazy things about people getting arrested for going to work and people, Cuomo sending the police in to break up Jewish people meeting in their houses. That doesn't reek of Nazism or anything. But he's covered now, right? Because his daughter just came out as queer, whatever the fuck that means. When I grew up, that shit just meant weird. But I digress. Back to the point. It's not a coincidence that all of these things where these governors are overstepping are happening in areas with very strict gun control laws because they know you can't do shit about it. But you didn't see that happening in Alabama. You didn't really see that happening in Florida. We shut down temporarily. You don't see these oversteps in areas where the population is armed. Because there's an old saying, and I'm trying to remember who said it. I think it was one of those sayings that a bunch of people are accredited with having said it. Or not accredited, but credited with having said it. And it's where the governing people, where the politicians fear the citizens, there is liberty. But where the citizens fear their rulers, there is tyranny. Anyway, that's what I got for you guys today. I appreciate everybody tuning in. Once again, make sure to hit that like button if you enjoy the content. And I am over on Rumble just in case, because you never know, man. You just never know. Also on Twitter @ForeverHog. And that is what I have for you guys today. So until the next time, ladies and gentlemen, I am up out of here. Peace.